Rex's paws clicked in a steady rhythm across the gleaming white floor of Terminal C, his nails tapping like a metronome synced to Officer Mia Delgado's steady breathing. Morning sunlight poured through massive glass walls, casting long shadows from hurried travelers dragging luggage, sipping burnt airport coffee, or arguing with gate agents about delayed flights. It was the kind of ordinary, chaotic airport morning Mia had grown used to during her 8 years as a K-9 officer. But Rex, her partner, her pride, her one constant in this unpredictable job, was anything but ordinary. A 5-year-old German shepherd with sable markings and eyes sharp enough to cut glass, Rex had earned a reputation that echoed through every training facility from Colorado to Texas. He did not false alert, ever, not once in hundreds of sweeps, not during drills, not during real operations, not even during that bizarre incident involving the malfunctioning baggage carousel and a spilled bottle of perfume that fooled half the human agents. Rex remained level-headed through everything. Every officer trusted Rex more than they trusted the scanning machines. That's why when they passed the row of blue suitcases near Gate 19, something inside Mia tingled, an instinct she rarely ignored. Rex's head snapped to the left so fast Mia nearly stumbled. His ears perked, his breathing changed, deepening, quickening. "Easy boy," she murmured, tightening the leash slightly. But Rex wasn't having it. He moved forward, almost dragging her, until he halted in front of one particular navy blue Samsonite. A completely normal-looking suitcase, average in size, rolling wheels, airport tags dangling lazily. Nothing about it suggested danger. Nothing except the K-9 now crouching low in front of it. Rex inhaled sharply, then again, his body stiffened from tail to snout. And then, he barked, a loud, commanding bark that cut through the airport noise like a gunshot. People around them froze mid-step. A woman holding a croissant paused with her mouth open. A businessman wearing a Bluetooth headset yanked the device from his ear. A child clutched his mother's hand and whispered, "Mom, is something wrong?" Mia's pulse spiked. She pulled the leash back gently. "Rex, heel." But Rex stepped closer to the suitcase, teeth baring, fur bristling with an aggression she had only seen twice. Once during explosives detection training, and once during a major trafficking bust 2 years ago. Another bark, sharper this time, more urgent. Mia's hand instinctively moved to the radio at her shoulder. "All units, this is Officer Delgado at Terminal C near Gate 19. K-9 has alerted on an unaccompanied bag. Request immediate support and area lockdown." Static crackled, then a voice responded. "Dispatch copies, units inbound." Rex growled low and deep, circling the suitcase. His nose pressed so close the fur on his muzzle brushed the fabric. His tail stood stiff as a rod. Travelers began stepping back, whispering, glancing at one another with rising anxiety. A younger man scooted several feet away, dragging his charging suitcase behind him with wide eyes. The entire terminal seemed to tilt toward silence as people realized the severity of the situation. Mia kept her eyes glued to Rex. He wasn't just detecting something, he was warning them. She had seen him act like this only when something inside a bag wasn't simply illegal, but dangerous. 2 TSA agents hurried over, followed by airport security in bright yellow vests. They quickly began ushering passengers away, forming a perimeter around the suitcase. "Officer Delgado," one agent said, trying to keep his voice even, "what's the dog doing?" "He's indicating high threat," she replied, eyes still on Rex, "and he's escalating." As if on cue, Rex let out another bark, this one raw and desperate. His paws scratched aggressively against the floor, his entire posture screaming that something inside that suitcase was wrong. Very wrong. A mother clutched her daughter tightly, pulling her behind a pillar. A couple backed away, whispering heatedly. Someone muttered, "Is it a bomb?" loud enough for others to hear. Panic began to ripple outward like a spreading stain on water. Mia swallowed hard. Rex had seen everything from narcotics to firearms, but never, not once, had he reacted like this to a simple piece of luggage. The growling, the stance, the need to stay close. He was guarding the suitcase, as if something inside it was alive. The realization hit Mia slowly, chilling her from the back of her neck down to her fingertips. She'd seen dogs do this with crates that had animals inside. Dogs sensed fear, they sensed life, they sensed distress. Rex wasn't acting like a bomb dog right now. He was acting like a rescue dog. Her breath caught as she stared at the navy blue suitcase, sitting innocently on the polished floor. Rex, she whispered, what exactly did you find? But Rex only growled deeper, eyes locked on the suitcase like a soldier bracing for a threat. And for the first time in years, Mia Delgado felt something she hadn't felt on duty in a long time. Fear. Because if Rex was right, the contents of that suitcase weren't just dangerous. They were alive the moment Rex's barks echoed through Terminal C. The airport's pulse shifted. Conversations died mid-sentence. Footsteps slowed, then stopped altogether. And a hush, unnatural for an airport buzzing with departures and frustrations, fell over the space around Gate 19. Mia Delgado steadied her breathing as security officers snapped into action. Within seconds, bright yellow barricade straps stretched across the walkway. TSA agents positioned themselves between the suitcase and the nearest cluster of travelers. Nervous faces peered over shoulders and around pillars. A dozen phones rose into the air, recording. Someone whispered, "This is bad, this is really bad." Mia spoke into the intercom panel on the nearby pillar, her voice echoing across the terminal. "Attention, will the owner of a navy blue Samsonite suitcase, baggage tag ending in 437, please step forward immediately." Every head turned, people looked at one another. Some glanced at their own bags, suddenly suspicious of everything around them. But no one moved. A full 10 seconds passed, then 20. Still nothing. She tried again, more firmly this time. "This is a security matter. Please approach Gate 19 if this is your suitcase." A mother with 2 children looked around anxiously. A college student hugged his backpack, eyes darting between Mia and the bag. A man in a business suit adjusted his glasses, muttering, "Someone needs to claim that thing." But the moment stretched with tightening tension, and it became clear. The suitcase had no owner. Mia exhaled sharply. Abandoned luggage on its own was serious. But abandoned luggage with a K9 reacting like this. That was a whole different level of threat. Rex continued circling the suitcase, nose low, his muscles rigid beneath his fur. Every now and then he emitted a low growl, just enough to keep everyone on edge. His instincts were screaming, and Mia trusted his instincts more than she trusted most people. 2 airport supervisors approached, their faces tight with concern. "Officer Delgado," one said, "this area's shut down. We're halting boarding operations for nearby gates." "Good," Mia replied without looking away from Rex. "We need to isolate the bag. Nobody goes near it until the bomb squad arrives." "Already on the way." Mia nodded, though her mind was racing. How had the bag been placed here? Why wasn't the owner stepping forward? And why was Rex reacting like something inside was alive? Before she could spiral further, a TSA agent approached her with a handheld scanner, its screen flashing with the scanned baggage tag information. "Officer, we ran the tag number, the system says." His voice trailed off, eyes narrowing at the screen. "Says what?" Mia asked. "That the bag wasn't checked in at all." Mia blinked. "Not checked in, then how did it get through?" "I don't know, there's no record of it being scanned, loaded, or even registered. The serial number matches no bags in the airport system." Rex barked sharply again, snapping the tension like a whip. Travelers near the barriers jumped backward. One man shouted, "Just blow the thing up." Mia shot him a glare. "Sir, step back and stay calm." She pressed the intercom one more time, though she suspected it was pointless. "Final call for the owner of a navy blue Samsonite, tag 437. If this is your luggage, identify yourself immediately." Again, silence. A knot tightened in her chest. Rex sat beside the suitcase now, refusing to move away. His eyes stayed fixed on the bag zipper, as if he expected it to shift or twitch. Something about his stare unnerved Mia. K9s didn't just detect smells, they sensed heartbeats, motion, fear, even distress. A dog's instincts were ancient, wired into survival itself. And Rex wasn't sensing chemicals. He wasn't sensing explosives. He wasn't sensing narcotics. He was sensing someone. Officer Delgado. The voice belonged to Captain Harris of Airport Security, a tall, weathered man whose presence always signaled escalation. "What do we have?" he asked, studying the suitcase as if it might start breathing. "Unclaimed bag," Mia replied. "Strong K9 alert, very strong. I've never seen Rex like this." Harris nodded grimly. "Bomb squad is 3 minutes out. We're evacuating the nearest shops." Good, that's good. A loudspeaker overhead crackled. Attention passengers, please follow airport personnel instructions. Sections of Terminal C are temporarily closed. The frustration of delayed travelers began morphing into fear. A few people cried softly, others filmed with shaky hands. Rumors, bomb, chemical weapon, trafficking, biohazard spread like wildfire. Mia looked down at Rex, who now whined softly, tail stiff, body trembling, not with fear but with focus. He pressed one paw against the suitcase, gently at first, and then with more insistence. Mia knelt beside him. Rex, what is it, boy? He looked at her with eyes that seemed to say, inside, someone inside, now. Her throat tightened. But before she could speak again, before she could even fully process the chilling possibility, her radio crackled with a message that sent a shiver through every bone in her body. Be advised, the suitcase is showing heat signatures. And movement. Mia's heart slammed against her ribs. Movement. Inside the suitcase. Rex barked again, this time with panic. And everything in the terminal erupted into chaos. The word movement echoed through Mia's radio like a lightning strike. She froze for half a breath, just long enough for her brain to register what she'd heard, before instinct kicked in. Lock it down, she barked into her comm. Now. In an instant, the airport transformed. Announcements blared overhead, urgent and clipped. Passengers, please evacuate Terminal C immediately. Follow security personnel to designated exits. Emergency shutters began descending over gift shops. Restaurants hurriedly closed registers. Security agents, previously scattered and calm, moved with fast, sharp urgency, guiding travelers away from the hazard zone. A wave of confusion rippled through the crowds. Children cried, adults argued, phones live-streamed everything. But through it all, Mia kept her eyes locked on Rex. Rex wasn't barking anymore. He was stalking around the suitcase in tight, frantic circles, ears pinned back, tail rigid. Every muscle was drawn tight like a coiled spring. His instincts weren't just active, they were screaming. Mia. She turned to see the bomb squad rushing forward, 3 suited technicians, their heavy gear clanking as they jogged across the shiny tile floor. The lead technician, Bowers, gave a curt nod. We got heat signatures from inside, he asked, breathless. Yes, Mia replied, and movement, Rex is reacting like. I can see how he's reacting, Bowers cut in, glancing at the growling K9. We need to get that bag into inspection bay 2. We can't open it here, too many unknowns. He and his team lifted a thick, reinforced blast shield around the suitcase. Rex growled sharply, trying to push through the officers, but Mia held him back. Rex, heel, she commanded, though her hand trembled. The suitcase was now boxed in by black ballistic panels, turning it into a portable bunker. The technicians secured straps, lifted the shielded case onto a wheeled platform, and carefully rolled it toward the service hallway. Mia followed close behind, Rex pressed against her leg like a shadow. As they moved, the once bustling terminal emptied into eerily silent corridors. The distant wail of alarms and blaring instructions echoed through the long, white-tiled walkways. Entire gates stood abandoned, half-eaten food, open books, and toppled coffee cups left behind in the rush to evacuate. It felt wrong. Airports were never silent. Airports breathed with constant motion. But now it felt like the entire building was holding its breath. Inside Inspection Bay 2. Inspection Bay 2 was a large concrete room behind a thick steel door, the place where suspicious luggage went to die or be cleared. The walls were scuffed, the overhead lights harsh, the air cold enough to sting. The blast-shielded suitcase was rolled to the center of the room. Bomb techs adjusted cameras, cables, and robotic arms. Mia stood behind a safety glass panel, Rex packing restlessly beside her. Bowers spoke through the intercom, his voice echoing off the concrete walls. Thermal scanner shows movement still occurring, small, irregular, inconsistent. He frowned at the screen, not mechanical, too erratic. Rex let out a low, distressed whine, the first time Mia had ever heard that sound from him. Her stomach twisted. Bowers continued, we're going to open the case manually. Remote arm isn't picking up enough detail. That's dangerous, Mia said. He nodded grimly. Everything about this is dangerous, but we don't open it, we don't know what we're dealing with. The bomb tech stepped forward, their gloved hands steady despite the tension in the room. One held a long metal rod to unlatch the suitcase without leaning close. Another positioned a ballistic blanket over the top, just in case. Rex suddenly barked once, twice, sharp and terrified. "Hold," Mia shouted, "something happening." All eyes snapped to the screen showing the thermal feed. The heat signature inside the suitcase shifted. A small, bright blur inside the case moved sharply to the left, like something startled or panicked. Bowers muttered, "No way, is it?" He didn't finish. The suitcase thumped from the inside. Every person in the room jumped. Rex snarled, teeth bared. "Bowers," Mia whispered, "there is something alive in there." He swallowed. "We proceed carefully." He reached for the latch with the metal rod. Everyone held their breath. Even Mia, who had stared down traffickers, bomb threats, and armed suspects, felt her heart hammering like it might crack her ribs. The technician touched the rod to the latch. Click. The sound echoed like a gunshot. Lights flickered. Rex whined high, piercing his body pressed against the safety glass, begging to get in the room. "Slow," Bowers said, "slowly lift the lid." Two gloved hands lifted the reinforced blanket. Another tech gripped the suitcase top and raised it. 1 inch, 2 inches, 4 inches. Mia leaned forward, breath fogging against the glass. Inside was something metallic. A cage, a blanket, dark stains, and then two tiny, terrified eyes stared up from inside. Everyone in the room gasped. Mia felt her knees nearly buckle. Rex barked louder than ever. Inside that suitcase was a child, and nothing in Mia's career had ever prepared her for that. The lid of the suitcase rose only halfway before the entire room fell into stunned, breathless silence. At first, Mia thought her eyes were deceiving her. The shadows inside the suitcase mixed with the harsh overhead lights, creating strange shapes. But then the shadows moved, slowly, timidly, and the truth snapped into focus. A child, a real child, huddled in a too small metal cage inside a suitcase. The bomb technician froze mid-motion, his gloved hands shaking. "Holy Bowers, what is this?" Bowers stared, mouth slightly open, words caught somewhere between shock and fury. It's a toddler. Someone put a toddler inside this. He couldn't finish, no one could. Mia didn't realize she was holding her breath until her chest burned. Rex scratched frantically at the safety glass behind her, barking with an urgency that cracked at her nerves. "Keep still," Bowers instructed the team, though his voice trembled. "We need to make sure there are no booby traps, no devices. That cage, look at the locks. Someone modified it, someone." But Mia couldn't wait, couldn't stand another second staring while that small figure sat trapped inside a travel bag like cargo. "Is the child breathing?" Mia demanded. The bomb tech closest to the suitcase leaned in cautiously. "Yes, shallow, but yes." "Any explosives?" Bowers asked, forcing professionalism back into his voice. Another tech scanned the interior. Negative, no devices detected, no wiring, just the cage and... He reached inside with trembling fingers and lifted a small stuffed rabbit. The left ear was missing. The fur was matted with something dark. Blood, dirt, tears. Mia didn't know. All she knew was that the child inside the cage was looking up, eyes wide, huge, glimmering with fear and something else. Exhaustion. The toddler had blonde hair stuck to a damp forehead, cheeks streaked with grime, lips cracked, trembling. The child wrapped tiny fingers around one of the cage bars, squeezing as though unsure whether the world outside the suitcase was safer than the one they'd just been dragged through. "Please." The voice was barely a whisper, more breath than sound. "Help." Something inside Mia shattered. "Open the cage," she said instantly. Bowers spun toward her. "Officer Delgado, we need to document." "The child is dehydrated, terrified, and locked in a box inside a suitcase," Mia snapped. "Open the cage, now." Bowers hesitated, not because he disagreed, but because protocol had been thrown out the window the moment a living child appeared inside a piece of luggage. Finally, he gave a sharp nod. "Do it carefully." A tech knelt beside the cage door, examining it. It's padlocked, not standard, looks like handmade modifications. "Can it be cut?" Mia asked. "Yeah, but we need bolt cutters." I'll get them, Bowers said, rushing to the storage cabinet against the wall. Every second that passed felt stretched, warped. The toddler's tiny chest rose and fell in shallow, frightened breaths. The child looked around, eyes darting from the lights to the figures in heavy gear, to the rabbit, to the open suitcase lid, then finally, to Mia standing behind the glass. Their eyes locked, and Mia felt it. The play, the pain, the silent terror only a child in danger could express. Rex sensed it too. He barked at the barrier again, pressing his entire weight against the door as if he could break through it with sheer will alone. Bowers hurried back and handed over the bolt cutters. The technician placed the tool's jaws around the lock. "Okay, little one," the tech whispered, trying to steady their voice. "We're going to get you out of here." Snap. The lock fell open. The cage door creaked as it swung outward. The child didn't move at first, didn't crawl out, didn't cry. They just sat blinking, unsure if the world they were seeing was another threat. Mia pressed the intercom. "You're safe," she said gently. "No one here will hurt you. You can come out." Slowly, painfully slowly, the toddler set down the rabbit and reached forward. The tiny fingers clung to the technician's glove as the child was carefully lifted out of the cage. The moment the child felt fresh air on their skin, they trembled violently, clutching at the technician's suit like it was a life raft. "Easy, we got you," Bowers murmured. Once free from the cage, the child tucked their face into the technician's chest plate and sobbed, silent, shaking sobs that tore at everyone present. Mia's throat tightened, even Rex went quiet. "Get medical," Mia said, her voice low and urgent. "Immediately." Technicians were already moving. Someone wrapped the child in a clean blanket, another brought water, carefully unscrewing the cap. The toddler didn't speak again, only cried into the blanket, tiny fingers clutching at the rabbit once the tech placed it back in their arms. Bowers looked shaken. "Mia, what kind of person does this?" Mia stared at the empty cage, the bloodied blanket, the too small suitcase. "I don't know," she whispered. "But we're going to find out." She started out of the room because one thing was certain. This wasn't a forgotten suitcase. This wasn't an accident. This was the beginning of something far darker. And someone had walked into this airport and left a child inside a suitcase behind. That someone might still be here. And Mia Delgado was going to find them. The moment the bomb squad carried the rescued toddler out of Inspection Bay 2, the entire command center shifted into crisis mode. Radios crackled nonstop. Officers sprinted across hallways. Supervisors barked orders like the building itself had caught fire. But inside the small medical room, far from the chaos, the world felt strangely quiet. The toddler sat on an examination table, wrapped in a soft gray blanket several sizes too big. A paramedic gently placed a cup of water in their hands, guiding the tiny fingers around it. "Small sips," she murmured. The child obeyed, raising the cup with trembling hands. Their eyes were red, swollen from silent crying, staring blankly at the white wall in front of them rather than at the adults surrounding them. Mia stood near the door, Rex sitting obediently at her feet. He had refused to leave the child, whining, packing, and finally lying down across the doorway like a guardian. Every few seconds the toddler glanced at Rex, not at the officers, not at the medics, only the dog, and each time Rex met their gaze, his ears lowered, body softening, not the rigid alert posture from earlier, something gentler. He sensed fear, and he knew his job wasn't over. A doctor stepped away from the child and approached Mia quietly. "Vitals are stable, dehydrated, mild bruising, slight hypothermia, no fractures." She hesitated, but emotionally, severely traumatized. Mia nodded grimly. Any idea how long they were in that suitcase? Impossible to say for sure, but definitely long enough to terrify them. The doctor lowered her voice. Whoever did this didn't want them mobile. That cage wasn't improvisational, it was built. Mia felt anger spark hot beneath her ribs. "You think this was planned?" "No question." Mia's jaw tightened. Someone had engineered a cage small enough to fit inside luggage but secure enough to hold a struggling toddler. Someone had placed it inside a suitcase and dragged it through an airport filled with cameras and security measures. Whoever it was had confidence, maybe even experience. Mia stepped forward, keeping her voice gentle. "Hi there," she murmured to the child. "I'm Mia, you're safe now. Can you tell me your name?" The toddler stared at her. No answer. Do you know where you came from? She tried. Silent. Do you know who brought you here? The child's bottom lip trembled. They hugged the stuffed rabbit tight, burying their face in its matted fur. Rex whined softly, lowering his head and creeping an inch closer until he was lying directly at the child's feet. For the first time, the child's tension eased, just a little. They reached a tiny hand out and brushed their fingers across Rex's ear. Rex didn't move, didn't even blink, just let them. Mia swallowed. They trust him, the paramedic whispered. Yeah, Mia breathed. Rex knows something they can't say. The rabbit slipped slightly in the toddler's grasp. Mia noticed something faint, black threading across the side seam. Hold on, she murmured, stepping closer. That rabbit, can I take a look? The child pulled back, clinging to it. No, sweetheart, Mia said softly. You can keep holding it, I just want to look at the side. The child hesitated, then turned the rabbit just enough for Mia to see the stitching more clearly. There, barely visible beneath grime, were the frayed remnants of embroidered letters. A name, not fully intact, but Mia recognized it instantly. Her heart dropped. Dispatch, she said, hitting her radio, voice tight. Pull up Amber Alert 221B from 2 days ago. Aurora Mall abduction. I need to confirm details immediately. A burst of static, then. Copy Delgado, pulling it up. Seconds later. Affirmative, missing child 3 years old. Last seen holding a stuffed rabbit, left ear missing. Visual matches our rescued child. Mia felt the room tilt. It was the same child. The same one half the state had been searching for. The medic's eyes widened. This is the Amber Alert kid. Yes, Mia said, and if they're here. Her expression hardened. Then the abductor might be here too. The paramedic inhaled sharply. But Mia wasn't finished. Dispatch, she said into her radio, we need the suspect description again. Last known direction of travel. Stand by, suspect was last seen heading south on I-25 toward New Mexico. Vehicle hasn't been located, no airport connection. Mia stared at the toddler. So how did the child end up inside a suitcase at Denver International Airport? Someone else had brought the child here. Maybe not the original kidnapper. Which meant there were at least 2 players in this nightmare. And one of them was still somewhere inside the airport. Suddenly, the intercom in the hallway crackled to life. Officer Delgado, we have surveillance footage. Someone dropped the suitcase at gate 19. And they're still in the airport. The child flinched at the announcement. Rex rose instantly, ears sharp again, sensing the shift. Mia exhaled, slow, steady, controlled. Stay with the child, she instructed the medics. Don't let anyone in. She clicked her radio. Control, patch me into security. We're not just dealing with an abandoned suitcase. We have a kidnapper inside Terminal C. She turned toward the door, Rex at her side, ready. This stopped being a rescue. It had become a hunt. The hallway leading out of the medical room felt colder than before, too quiet, too sterile. The emergency lights cast a harsh, flickering glow that reminded Mia of interrogation rooms and hard truths. Rex padded beside her, every step synchronized with the tension rippling through her veins. As she turned the corner toward the command center, an officer hurried toward her, tablet in hand, face tight with urgency. Delgado, we pulled the footage you asked for. Show me. The officer tapped the screen. Grainy security footage filled it. Terminal C, gate 19. A crowd of travelers blurred past in streaks of color. There, the officer said, pointing at a figure. A hooded person, gender indistinguishable, dragged the navy blue suitcase behind them. Their steps were brisk but controlled. They moved like a ghost through the crowd, no hesitation, no wandering, no wasted motion. What time? Mia asked. 6:58 a.m., the officer replied, right before the first boarding calls. Mia watched as the figure stopped at the row of seats near gate 19, set the suitcase down, and walked away. Not hurriedly, not nervously, just walked away. Calm, controlled, deliberate. Zoom in, Mia said. The camera focused on the figure's hands. No gloves, light-colored skin, no visible tattoos. A simple black hoodie and worn jeans, sneakers, a backpack with a frayed strap. Do we have them entering the terminal? Negative, the officer replied. No camera shows them coming in. Mia frowned. That's not possible. There are cameras at every. We checked. They don't appear on any entrance footage. Not before, not after. She narrowed her eyes. Whoever this person was, they knew where blind spots were. Which meant this wasn't random. This wasn't panicked. This was methodical. The officer swiped to another clip. This one's from 20 seconds after they left the suitcase. The hooded figure reappeared, this time near a vending machine, standing unnaturally still. They weren't buying anything, just watching. Watching Rex. Watching Mia. Watching the bomb squad approach the suitcase. And then, almost like they sensed something, the figure turned and melted into the crowd, vanishing behind a wall of passengers. Rewind that, Mia said sharply. Slow it down. The footage replayed. The hooded figure stood perfectly still, then their head tilted like they heard something or saw something. Mia stared harder. It wasn't random. They were waiting. Did they leave the airport? Mia asked. Unknown, the officer replied. They haven't hit any exit cameras. Mia exhaled. So they're still here. Rex growled softly as if he agreed. The rabbit clue. Mia headed to the evidence table where the rabbit had been placed temporarily. The stuffed toy looked even smaller without the child clutching it, ears frayed, fur matted, seams loose. She picked it up carefully, examining the stitching again. The torn black thread, the faint outline of letters. About time you got here, said Agent Lawson, the FBI liaison assigned to the airport. He stood with arms crossed, expression hard. He'd been called in the moment the Amber Alert connection was confirmed. Mia didn't look up. When did the Amber Alert update go out? 30 hours ago, Lawson replied. We had roadblocks on every exit around Aurora. Nothing turned up. Which means the original kidnapper didn't take major highways. Or, Lawson countered, they handed the child off. Mia met his eyes now. To who? That's the question. She tapped the rabbit. This confirms the child is the missing boy Elliot Hart, 3 years old, abducted from Aurora Mall play area. Mother was separated during a crowd surge. Witnesses saw a teenager carrying Elliot out, but the suspect dropped the scarf they were using as a disguise. DNA came back inconclusive, mixture of multiple individuals. Multiple, Mia echoed. Which suggests a trafficking ring, Lawson said flatly. Mia's pulse spiked. A ring, a network, people working in coordination. That cage, Mia murmured, it was custom built. Yes, Lawson agreed. Someone made it, someone had a purpose. And someone brought that kid to the airport, Mia added, not the original abductor. Lawson crossed his arms, meaning this isn't a rescue gone wrong. Someone wanted the child to be found or lost. Mia's gaze hardened or transferred. Before Lawson could respond, her radio erupted. Officer Delgado, urgent update, fingerprint analysis came in. The suitcase, the cage, the rabbit, fingerprints all over them. Who's that? The pause. Not the original suspect. Not the kid. Not in any criminal database. Clean, perfectly clean. Mia's stomach dropped. Someone who hides a child in a suitcase, builds a cage, and abandons them at an airport. Has no record. Impossible. Or intentional. Lawson straightened. We need to find this person, now. Another voice crackled through Mia's radio, security command. Delgado, we found something on the vending machine footage. The suspect dropped something, looks like paperwork, maybe an ID. Mia's breath caught. Where is it? Evidence room 3. In Delgado. The voice hesitated. You need to see it yourself. This doesn't look like a trafficker. Mia exchanged a grim look with Lawson, then started down the hallway with Rex trotting at her side, muscles taut. Doesn't look like a trafficker, Lawson muttered. Then who? Mia cut him off. Someone who wants us to think they're innocent. But deep down, she feared something else. Whoever abandoned that child might not be the villain. They might be the only person trying to save him. And that possibility made everything more dangerous. Evidence room 3 was colder than the others, tucked behind a reinforced steel door with 2 layers of security locks. Mia entered with Lawson close behind and Rex trotting silently, nose twitching with alert curiosity. The overhead lights buzzed softly, too softly, giving the room an almost eerie, underwater stillness. On the center table lay a clear plastic evidence bag. Inside it, a laminated airport identification card. Mia stepped closer. The ID was scuffed around the edges, as if it had been handled repeatedly or clenched in a tight fist. It looked like the kind issued to airport staff, custodians, maintenance workers, baggage handlers. But that wasn't what made Mia's breath catch. It was the photo. A young woman, maybe mid-20s. Dark eyes tired, frightened, but deliberate. Hair pulled back tightly. A faint bruise along her jawline. A tear in her lip that looked fresh, like she'd been struck recently. And her expression, her expression, looked like she wasn't sure whether taking this photo was the last safe moment she'd ever have. Under the photo was the name. Sophia Ray's janitorial staff, Terminal C/night shift. Mia frowned, a worker, not a trafficker. Lawson leaned over her shoulder, jaw tightening, or a trafficker pretending to be a worker. Mia shook her head slowly. No, look at the eyes. Lawson scoffed, eyes don't mean anything. They do, Mia insisted. These aren't the eyes of someone running a ring. She looked scared, hurt, like someone forced her to carry out something she didn't want to. They both looked at the timestamp on the supposed drop at the vending machine. 6:58 a.m. Sophia Ray's was on the schedule, according to the ID, to clock in at 7:00 a.m. She had been in uniform. She had been at the right place at the right time. And then she abandoned the suitcase. It was too coincidental. Too clean. Too intentional. The file they didn't expect. The evidence technician entered, carrying a thin stack of papers. You're going to want these too, he said, handing the documents to Mia. What are they? Lawson asked. Personnel packet we pulled using the employee number on the ID. The tech paused. Something's off about it. Mia flipped through the file. Her stomach knotted instantly. There were red flags everywhere. 1. No emergency contacts listed, highly unusual for airport staff. 2. Residence address missing, replaced by a P.O. box in an industrial area. 3. Employment start date, 2 weeks ago, but the photo looked old. 4. All background check papers had the same signature from the same pen in the same handwriting. Forgery. Inside a major U.S. airport. Lawson's face darkened. Someone planted her in the system. Mia nodded, flipping to the last page, and whoever it was had access to secure employee records. They inserted her, made her look legitimate. But why go through the trouble for one kid? Lawson asked. Mia stared down at the ID again. Because Sophia's eyes looked too much like someone silently begging for help. Maybe she wasn't part of the ring, Mia said. Maybe she was another victim, a pawn, forced to transport Elliot through the airport. Rex suddenly barked, a sharp, urgent sound, and Mia jerked toward him. He was staring at the evidence bag. Growling, hackles raised. Easy boy, Mia whispered. But Rex wasn't reacting to the ID. He was reacting to something beneath it. Mia tilted the evidence bag. A small folded slip of paper, tucked behind the ID, slid into view. What the? Mia pulled out the paper carefully. It was handwritten, fragile, trembling ink lines, slanted script as if written in a rush. Lawson leaned in. What does it say? Mia's throat tightened as she read it out loud. Help us, they're watching. Not safe here. Please find him before they do. The message was signed. Nessar. Lawson's eyes widened. She left a note. No, Mia murmured. She hid a cry for help. The handwriting was shaky, dotted with smudges. Tears, blood. She couldn't tell. But this wasn't a trafficker. This wasn't a criminal mastermind. This was a young woman in danger, and she risked everything to leave a message. Security footage breakthrough. The radio crackled suddenly. Delgado, we found additional footage from a service corridor. You should see this immediately. Mia exchanged a glance with Lawson. Play it, she said. A new video appeared on the evidence monitor. A dimly lit service hallway. Sophia Reyes appeared wearing her janitorial uniform, carrying the suitcase. She kept looking over her shoulder. Eyes wide, breathing hard. She wasn't calm. She wasn't composed. She was terrified. Mia felt her pulse spike as Sophia ducked into a maintenance closet. The camera angle caught only a sliver of movement, but it was enough. Someone grabbed her arm, dragged her back inside. The door slammed. Lawson froze. Wait, rewind that. The technician rewound, freezing on the moment the second figure's hand entered frame. It was a large hand. Calloused, a faded tattoo on the wrist, barely visible but there. A symbol Mia recognized. Her blood ran cold. It was the mark used by Los Halcones, a violent trafficking syndicate that law enforcement had been chasing for years. Lawson cursed under his breath. You've got to be kidding. Mia whispered Sophia didn't kidnap that child, she was forced. And now she's probably still here, Lawson said, hiding or worse. Mia stood straighter, adrenaline coursing through her. Rex, she said softly. Rex snapped to attention. Mia exhaled slowly. We're not just searching for Elliot anymore. She looked at the ID. The bruised face. The trembling note. The terrified eyes. We're searching for Sophia, too. And whoever controlled her was somewhere inside the airport. The airport felt different now, no longer a busy travel hub, but a hunting ground, a maze of corridors, shadows, and secrets. Mia moved fast but silently, Rex at her side, his body low, alert, ready. The new footage changed everything. Sophia wasn't the perpetrator. She was a hostage, a pawn, a terrified young woman forced to abandon a kidnapped child. Which meant someone else, someone far more dangerous, was still inside Denver International Airport. And they weren't done yet. Mia reached the service-level corridors beneath Terminal C. These were the parts of airports passengers never saw. Concrete tunnels with exposed pipes, flickering lights, and the smell of oil and cold air from the baggage systems. The hum of conveyor belts pulsed like a heartbeat in the distance. Lawson kept pace beside her. We have teams covering all exits, he said. If Sophia's alive, we'll find her. No, Mia replied, they'll find us first. Rex suddenly stiffened. His ears shot forward. Nostrils flaring. Body coiled like a spring. Mia stopped instantly. What do you smell, boy? She whispered. Rex took 3 deliberate steps toward a side hallway. His tail froze. A rumbling growl formed deep in his chest. There was a metal door halfway down the hall. Unmarked, older than the others. Probably a forgotten utility room. Mia exchanged a glance with Lawson, who nodded and drew his firearm. She reached for the door, gently listening. A muffled sound, like breathing or sobbing. Mia inhaled sharply and gestured for Lawson to cover her as she eased the door open. It creaked. Inside was darkness, thick, stale, suffocating. Rex pushed past her, nose down, growl echoing in the concrete box. Mia flicked on her flashlight. The beam cut through darkness and landed on a figure curled on the ground. A young woman. Disheveled uniform. Bruise blooming across her jaw. Hands bound with zip ties. Terror etched across her face. Sophia Reyes. Her eyes darted up, blinded by the light. No, no, please don't hurt me, she cried out in a hoarse voice. It's okay, Mia said softly, kneeling. You're safe, we're here to help. Sophia's body shook violently as Mia cut the zip ties. Her wrists were raw, her lip was split. He said he'd kill me if I didn't do it, she whispered. He said the boy wasn't mine to save. Mia's heart clenched. Where's he now, Sophia, who took the child from you? Sophia shuddered. Him, the man with the bird tattoo. He works here. Baggage crew. He said they're moving the boy again. Mia felt an icy rush down her spine. Which way? Lawson asked urgently. Sophia pointed weakly down a sloping corridor. Freight elevators, he said. When the shift change starts, he'll blend in. No one will know. Shift change. That was in less than 6 minutes. Mia stood instantly. Sophia, stay here. Lawson, radio in. Get teams to block the entire baggage floor. Lawson grabbed his comm. All units suspect heading for freight. Before he could finish, a loud clang echoed from somewhere deep in the corridor. A heavy door slamming. Then footsteps. Fast, echoing. Mia didn't wait. Rex track. The dog shot forward like a missile. Mia sprinted after him. The corridor twisted through concrete tunnels, pipes hissing overhead, air roaring with the sound of conveyor belts and machinery. Rex suddenly swerved left toward a freight elevator whose doors were closing. A man stood inside it. Tall, broad shoulders, dark cap pulled low, and on his wrist, the bird tattoo. In his arms, a child, small, wrapped in a blanket, head limp against the man's shoulder. Elliot, Mia shouted, stop, police. The man looked up. Their eyes locked. His expression didn't show fear or panic. It showed cold, practiced calculation. He reached for the elevator panel. Mia lunged. Rex leaped, but the elevator doors snapped shut. Mia slammed her fist against them. No. Rex barked furiously, claws scratching at the steel. Lawson's voice echoed from the hallway. Stairs, go. Mia spun, sprinting toward the stairwell, jumping steps 2 at a time. Her lungs burned, her legs screamed, but she didn't slow. She could hear Lawson behind her, breath ragged. She could hear Rex ahead of her, claws skittering on the concrete. They burst out onto the baggage loading floor. A massive conveyor belt roared across the room. Crates and luggage thundered past. Workers shouted directions. Trucks beeped in reverse. Chaos everywhere. Mia spotted the elevator on the opposite side. The doors opened. The man stepped out, carrying Elliot against his chest. He turned toward a truck bay. Toward an open cargo van. Stop, Mia screamed. Everything seemed to slow. The man hesitated just for a fraction of a second. Rex launched first. He flew across the concrete, a blur of muscle and fury. He clamped onto the man's arm. The man roared in pain, dropping Elliot. Mia dove sliding across the ground, catching the child before he hit the floor. Elliot whimpered, tiny hands clutching Mia's uniform. It's okay, buddy, she whispered, voice breaking. I've got you. Behind her, Lawson tackled the man, wrenching him to the ground as Rex held tight, snarling. Within seconds, officers swarmed in from all directions. Suspect down. Child recovered. Get medical. Mia held Elliot close, tears threatening her eyes. He was safe. Finally safe. Aftermath. Hours later, as emergency teams checked Elliot and Sophia was taken to hospital for treatment, Lawson approached Mia. You did good today, he said quietly. Mia looked down at Rex, who rested his head against her leg, tail thumping. He did better, she said, scratching behind his ears. Lawson smirked. You both did. Mia exhaled slowly. The nightmare was over. But as she stood in the dimly lit terminal with Rex at her side, she realized one chilling truth. This wasn't the end of the ring. This was just one man. One pawn. And whoever ran this operation. They were still out there. Watching. Waiting. Planning their next move. Mia looked at Rex. Guess we're not done yet, she whispered. Rex barked once, sharp, confident, unafraid. And the hunt for the truth continued.